food prices continue to gain steady increase, and the escalating security situation seems not to be helping matters at all. Besides insecurity, lack of access to finance and insufficient farm inputs are some of the reasons for these soaring prices. Well, our next report takes a look at how farmers are calling for adoption of modern technology to boost food production, which could end the surge in prices and enhance food security in the country.
This is a typical day in the life of a Nigerian farmer. From the north to some other states across the country, from lack of finance to inadequate supplies of farm inputs such as fertilizer, herbicides and lack of infrastructure, the challenges remain the same. And with the recent upsurge in insecurity, the prices of food continue to inch upwards. A total of 291 billion naira is appropriated for the agriculture sector out of the 16.9 trillion naira 2022 budget. Despite Nigeria's commitment to the 2003 Maputo and 2014 Malabo declarations to allocate at least 10% of the national annual budget to agriculture, the budgetary allocation is yet to reach 2% of the total budget.
In collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Central Bank, farmers will be able to access loans and also seeds through the National Seed Council, improved seeds. Because once you have improved seeds, you'll be assured of getting the enhanced production. Your yield will be very high, and definitely you will have value for what you are doing.
The federal government only recently announced that it has commenced the implementation of the National Fertilizer Quality Control Act 2019. It notes that with its over 70 blending plants operating, Nigeria is on its way to becoming Africa's fertilizer powerhouse. Some farmers, however, express worries over the bottlenecks associated with accessing loans to boost their productivity. This is just as the access to herbicides and pesticides is becoming difficult because of the increase in the prices of farm inputs. But some others are accepting innovative biotechnology.
The future of agriculture is good, it's wonderful. But because of this government thing that they couldn't come out to help, that is the reason, one of the reasons. And number two, farmers could not go to the banks for loans. When you go to the banks, they will say there's no money for agriculture. And so it is bleak.
If government allowed to help us, he will find us a little money so that we find seed crops, then we manage and look forward.
The National Biotechnology Development Agency is at the forefront of advocating for the acceptance of the technology because of its inherent benefits.
Well, following up on that conversation, we have another farmer here in the studio. We have the Managing Director of Banjoko Motunde Farms, Mr. Tunde Banjoko, joining us thank God you heard that report. Good morning. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank God you heard that report. Some farmers there, the issue of technology, access to fund, still being a major issue in your work as a farmer. Maybe you should tell us from your own perspective. Maybe that's theirs. Tell us yours.
No, the report is spot on. Starting with the input of a thing, in the last 1 year, 2 years, the price has been going up, but this year I can confirm it's been 100% for inputs, and that's making your cost of production.
Would that be because of importation? Is that the FX?
Importation, that's the part of the FX issue we're having in this sector. So if we're importing largely what some of the chemicals we are using to produce, and you can hardly also produce enough without using some of this input. Even the same thing with fertilizer, it's gone up really in the market. What we're buying 9 went to 15. Now for this year, most of our project is 22,000 that we are buying fertilizer.
You have Dangote now.
That's if you get, at least that is what you get in the market you're going to buy.
So when last did you, Dangote has been on now for over a month.
All the ones we are buying now is 22,000. So.
How much was it before now?
Like I said, it went from 8, 9, 15, but now 22,000. At least for some of our own projects, that's what we have.
So for the last 1 month now, you've still been buying it at about 22,000. So we haven't, maybe the Dangote input hasn't fed into the market.
Really come into the market space.
Perhaps it's too early to say, do you think?
Probably we should
or is there a
little.
gap? Is there a gap? Because that was, for me, that was part of the conversation I've been having when we celebrate the Dangote facility, you know, and the potentials. We don't want to celebrate it in isolation. We want to actually see it feed into the chain.
So maybe we are still waiting for it to come into the market fully. Maybe that's what it's more like the Dangote cement. You know, they supply wholesale, large quantity, they have to resell. Maybe for some of us buying 200 bags, 300 bags, that can't go directly to the factory. You have to go to the open market to get your input. So it's a major bottleneck for us as farmers. And
so for you as a farmer, I mean, this is something that we're supposed to feel. So that's why I'm really interested. You go to the open market to buy your fertilizer.
And most farmers do that, really.
Okay. So the open markets are supposed to get from factories like Dangote, or is there a middleman?
No, I think some of the middlemen are merchants, because Agric is a value chain, really.
Yes.
It's a value chain. Some are into the markets. I mean, the trading of these agro products. So some of them can stake their funds, buy larger volume in trailers, in trucks, to supply other smaller traders, where some of us will have to buy from, maybe in medium scale, kind of, because you can't afford to buy a trailer, because you probably don't even need a trailer. And because of time constraint at times, you are not even sure if I pay on Monday to say I'm receiving a truck, will I get it when I need it? So you probably want to go to a market, pay to, a vendor, and get your product supplied. So if you're having that issue, and coupled with other input as well that has gone up by the same rate, it's going to be giving us some of this effect we are still having now. Even though, but I'm trusting that probably with time we'll be able to get the logistics arm right, because one of the things I think is affecting that is the guys moving it in large quantity with their truck will get diesel. Like we got some guys coming, bringing stuff for us from Kogi to Edo State, and the price they are charging for each truck of what they are bringing for us is twice, charging 300,000 instead of 150, 200,000 that they would have charged even in January. So that's the effect of diesel. So that could have also played into this fertilizer thing, because their cost of movement from the factory to their store now distributing. So it's all interwoven. So the report is spot on that the prices are high in the market. If the government can step in the issue of diesel, because even in terms of clearing, if I could also use that as it's a major part of our operation, clearing as maybe December, January, we still clear some portion of land. You are still paying 250,000 per hectare.
Is that the mechanized clearing?
Mechanized clearing, you are paying 250,000 per hectare to clear an hectare of a land with a bulldozer. And now you are paying 450,000, 500,000 as at March, April, because the price of diesel went up, and they use diesel largely and oil for their operation. So the prices of stuffs are really high, and it's affecting the bottom line.
So these are the realities.
Those are the realities in the market.
Yeah, another thing that came up from that report is the issue of bottlenecks in accessing funds and loans, and even some of the grants and the help that the government has proposed for farmers, the bottlenecks around it.
Yes, because, you read about some of this, the project, the offers on paper, and I've had some personal experience with that. CBN will say, this is the policy, this is that, and you get to a commercial bank where you are supposed to access this, and they're telling you have to collateralize. I want to mention names of bank for credible reasons, and even one gave me an offer letter some years back, but told me, because I had to go to the extent of sending a mail to the MD of that bank, that this is not what CBN said. And why? So they set up a meeting. I went for the meeting. They gave me the offer letter for the loan, and then they said, "But still collateralize this loan." I said, "No, I'm not collateralized, because CBN." They said, "No, if this loan goes bad, CBN is going to come for us and all that." I said, "But CBN didn't say there should be collateral." So if you ask yourself, how many farmers can collateralize what they are getting? That's one aspect. The other aspect is the documentation. How many learned farmers? Most of what we consume locally now is from smallholder farmers, about 70 to 80% of it. So the guys in the local areas that can't even spell anything, but they know what they do. They know what to do to produce their maize. They know what to do to produce their cassava. Even though in smaller quantities, they can hardly fill these forms. So you now give them forms, fill this, fill that,
we need to do documentation. So how do we solve that?
We can localize our processes. We can. Why not look for a simpler method? Maybe BVN, if we can use BVN, if we can reduce the document they are filling. But because some of these guys too are skeptical now, because some dubious organizations have used their data to get government grants and loans and never gave it to them. So some of them are even skeptical filling any forms or giving you their data or information. So we have to make the process really simple. Even for us that seems to be a bit educated, you don't have to go through that bottleneck, because you are not even sure that after filling all this, doing all that, would this same fund still come to me at the right time? Because that's another thing I've also observed. This is planting season for most people, and you started filling the form maybe December, January. You might be sure that after 12 months at times, you have not even gotten the fund. So those are some of the constraints. Really, there are a lot of bottlenecks that the government can look into. The procedure. Can we use our community leaders? Can we use our community leaders to see how we can make it easy for them? Those are some of the issues.
And a lot of applause have been going to the Anchor Borrowers Program. I'd like to get your own personal perspective on that.
Okay. To be sincere, I think the government has spent about $1 trillion in the last 4 or 5 years on the Anchor Borrower Program. It has yielded some positive results in some places, and about 5 million farmers have been engaged. But there are bottlenecks, or there are areas they can still work on to get better value. $1 trillion into agriculture, and we are still buying food at the rate we are buying. We should be asking ourselves, what did we plant with the $1 trillion? Where was it planted? So those are the issues. So if you can't answer that question, and now in some states that we even thought it was very successful, government is saying people are defaulting in the payment of those loans. Some of them had issues of insecurity in those areas. So the program is good, but I think it should be reviewed. And for us to get more people coming on board of that program, it should be reviewed, because the way it's presently structured, you can't have people who are really interested coming on board. It is almost becoming like a political game where people just think, okay, I'll get this money, I'll do whatever I like with it. We might not be able to get the real effect, because I did a review for them in Ogun State some months back in Abeokuta and said, if what we are saying is you do this program for cassava, at the end of the year, as a young guy, you are getting 150,000. At the end of 12 months, how many people will be motivated to do such program?
If you say it should be reviewed, what kind of review do you think?
Okay, so one, there's a limit on the number of hectares an individual can do. So that can be reviewed. So say, like I give an example, 150,000. How many young guys wants to wait for 12 months to get 150,000? So that can be reviewed to say, okay, we can increase the hectarage. Then the procedure for getting the fund, you have to have an anchor to be able to say, and most of this anchor get this fund and even divert to other things. So you can allow some practitioner decide their own anchor without necessarily insisting the anchor must be the one giving you the fund. I can decide I have a better relationship with Mr. A. Let me deal with Mr. A. Let me give you his own details, my details. You can monitor me. I was on a project in Oyo State. We had to pull out at some point because of the monitoring the Anchor Borrower team were putting in place. Cleaning had been done, this had been done, and we are waiting for this authorization. And we had to abandon the project. Over 2,000 hectares in Oyo State. I won't mention the name of the company. To over 2,000 hectares abandoned that could have been used to plant and move to the market. So those are some of the things. The team working on it are not as passionate as we expect them to be. They are not. And I think the idea of being this is something that it's a national thing. And the way I feel now as a person, the rate at which food prices are going up, it's more like the end SARS. This is end food hunger. that we should pay attention to before it gets out of hand, because really the cost...
That's if it's not already out of hand.
Before it gets out of hand. You know, I posted something on Twitter yesterday about the price of food, that we're spending close to 65% on food in a month, an average family. And somebody replied, said, Tunde, are you sure that's even for somebody who has an income that is spending 65%?
All right, Mr. Tunde Banjoko, Managing Director of Banjoko Motunde Farms, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. That assessment on some of the government policies, I guess, is something we'll have to keep at over time. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you very much, Amy.